Today we're going to change the batteries in the camper. They're at the front door under the steps. They are wired in parallel. Positive post. One battery goes to the positive post on the next battery. The negative post on one battery goes to the negative post on the other battery. So this is parallel. And what parallel does is keep 12 volts, but it makes it a lot stronger. They both are 750 cranking amps, and that's what we're replacing them with. Okay, we're fixing to change the batteries. Now what we did, we put a meter on this battery. As you see, the meter is reading 12.79880 volts. Now, that's with the engine running. If I shut that engine off, it'll drop down to 7 volts with the lights on. Now if I shut the lights off and just shut the engine off, leave, come back and test these batteries, they're about 8.5 to 9 volts. The batteries are shot. So we're fixing to change them. Now we got new batteries. Now what we did with the new batteries, we put a little charge on them. They've been sitting on the shelf at Sam's, we don't know how long. Probably not that long, but put a little charge on them. They really wasn't low, but we put a charge. Now when we change everything, we're going to do is we're going to take off, always take off your negative terminals first, just like a car. Take off all your negative terminals. I'm going to put a piece of some tape on them to hold them together, and that way I'll know what goes where. Then take off the positive. Then we're going to pull the batteries out, clean everything up. And when we go back, we put the positive on first, then the negative. And the idea of that is, it would spark if I'm on this positive terminal. If I take off that first, the red terminal, and this wrench touches anything, it'll spark. Now, so that's why you always do it that way. Also, there's a hole down in the bottom of this battery box. It looks like about a 2-inch hole from here. And what it does, it vents. It allows this to vent. You don't want to close that hole up. But rats and snakes can get in here. A rat will get in here and eat up my wires. I wouldn't want to open up this battery thing and battery box and there'd be a big snake sitting in there. So I think I'm gonna get some quarter hardware cloth, which is a 1/4 by 1/4 screen, and cover that hole. That way no wormers can get in here. Maybe a roach, but that won't hurt anything. So we're gonna pull everything apart, clean it all up, and then we're gonna put our new batteries in. We're gonna see what we got. Okay, here we are. This is where we are. We found corrosion in the bottom of the battery box. We washed it out real good with the hose after putting some baking soda. Now we have about a 1/2 inch of water. It holds about a 1/2 inch of water. It's sitting in the battery box with baking soda. So we're going to let that soak. Then we're going to dry it up. Let it dry real good. Then we're going to paint the bottom of the battery box wherever there's a little corrosion. Not a lot, just a little bit of corrosion. Those are wet cell batteries in there. They have some battery pads in the bottom of it, bottom of the batteries. We have those soaking in a bucket with some baking soda also. It's good to have battery pads under your batteries. The reason is vibration is very hard on batteries. You don't want your batteries to vibrate. They won't last near as long if they bounce around and vibrate. So it's good, just like on a boat, you want to have you want your battery on a battery pad. So that's the idea of that. So once we get all this cleaned up, we'll go back to putting it back together. Okay, we're getting ready to install the batteries. But after cleaning the battery box and letting it dry real good, we found there's a lot of surface rust in the bottom of the battery box. We're going to clean it up a little better. And we're going to prime it. And I'm going to show you how we're going to do that. That's some 1/4x1/4 hardware cloth that we're going to glue in there around the edges. You never want to cover that hole. That's a vent hole. The screwdriver is just holding it in there right now so that no varmints get in while it was drying. And this is how we're going to do it. We're going to do it right. I'm going to clean the battery box up a little more using wire brush, sandpaper, steel wool. Then we're going to come back and we're going to wipe it all out real good with lacquer thinner. Now remember, anytime you use lacquer thinner, you want to take the fuse out of your CO2 propane detector. All you do is unscrew it and pull the fuse out. Then we're going to use the rust converter throughout the whole battery box, the inside of course. And this stuff takes 24 hours to dry. And I have the link below. This is the better one. Now you can buy this cheaper one if you'd like. You can get this at Walmart. But I much rather prefer this. This is much better stuff. Also, JB Well. We're going to take the JB Well and use the JB Well to hold the hardware cloth in place. Then we're going to use primer and paint to paint the inside of the battery box. We're going to reinstall the battery pads that are drying right now in the sun. And then we're going to install the batteries. Okay, this is the CO2 monitor, propane monitor. It's on the baseboard in the kitchen. I'm fixing to use some lacquer thinner, and that will definitely set this thing off. Also painting, you want to definitely, anytime you use any type of fumes like that, you definitely want to disconnect this. So I've already backed the 2 screws out. So all you have to do is remove it from the wall. And on the wiring harness, you see there's a fuse. Now it looks like a standard automotive fuse. It's a 3 amp fuse. What I'm going to do is pull it. It should come right out of there. There it goes. And then as you see, the light, the green light quit blinking. So we're disconnected. So now we can go ahead and fool with our lacquer thinner and do our painting and everything. And don't have to worry about setting off our alarm. Now let's go back and work on the battery box. Okay, the battery box is painted, ready to go. We've got the screen in the back, the hole, rather I should say, the vent hole covered with the screen. So what we're going to install the new batteries. What we're going to do is we're going to hook the positive post up first, then the negative post. So I'm going to go ahead and install. Okay, before installing the batteries, there's 2 vinyl bars that screw in the battery box. Keep the battery from sliding. Now also, I trimmed the pads. Someone had put some extra pads in the battery box. And the problem with that is, it causes the battery to get up higher. And there's 2 screws right there. And the battery can rot up on top of that vinyl bar, and it can puncture the side of your battery. So what I did, I got rid of the 2 extra pads, and I cut a piece of one and put it in the middle. Okay. So now we're going to install the batteries. Okay, we just finished installing the new batteries. What we had done was take a picture of it before and make sure we put the terminals, all the terminals back where they go. We took a wire brush and we polished up all the terminals. And also the battery terminals. All the terminals have been polished. Real good. We also take these caps and cut them and put them back on the battery. positive and negative, all the way down. In case you get a short, you have to drop a wrench or something on it, you got less chance of shorting out. There was also a strap that was under the strap right here was under the battery. And it wasn't on and it wasn't tight. It wasn't even on. Now the batteries could slide in there because they had put these pads. Well, the pads were stopping them from sliding, but they put double pads. They already have pads under there. They double padded it, and it brought the batteries up above that PVC little bar down there that's on each side of the battery. Now, that could cause the battery to slide. Now, if the battery would slide, if you can see, there's two screws to the side of the battery box. The battery could hit those screws, puncture the battery. So it was a bad idea to leave the strap off, and it was a bad idea to put the extra pads. But we all got it back together. Now, let's test everything and see how it works. Okay, it's the next day. Remember, our meter was on 12.64. That was with the air conditioning running after we had just put the new batteries in. And with lights on. So we let it sit overnight. No lights on. Of course, no air conditioning running. And the batteries have gone up to 12.80. So that tells me that the charging system, when you plugged into shore power, is definitely working. So I would suggest to go with maintenance-free batteries. I wouldn't go with wet cell like what was in here. Just because these batteries are normally forgotten about. They're under the step, and you're normally not going to fool with them unless you really need something. Unless you have problems with them, I should say. These batteries cost a little bit more than a wet cell that you have to check, but I think it's well worth it for the life of the battery if you forget to check them, and just the convenience. So how we do it here? Change batteries, and we checked electrical problem.